It's been 10 years leading up to this moment. Avengers Infinity War exploded into theaters last weekend, and man was it just huge. Avengers Infinity War was, unquestionably, the biggest movie of 2018, maybe even the biggest movie of the past decade, as it totally demolished the box office record. The movie is a massive team-up of nearly every character in the MCU so far, and by massive, I mean truly, gigantically massive on a scale never before seen in Hollywood. You thought Age of Ultron was overstuffed? Man, you ain't seen nothing yet. Marvel really has created a marvel with this movie, which combines 10 years worth of movies and dozens of characters in a way that's epic, satisfying, and almost unbelievable. I'm going to give my thoughts of this colossus of a movie the best I can, because a couple minute review is never going to cover everything about this movie. But before I go, expect massive, enormous, incredible Hulk-sized spoilers in this review. Seriously, if you haven't seen the movie, pause right here and go no further. Just want to make it crystal clear, because this movie has some massive plot twists, and I want you to see it totally blind. But if you've already seen Infinity War, let's go. First off, let's just talk about the hype. I mean, geez, I have never seen so much hype surrounding a movie before. It rivals Star Wars The Force Awakens. But even The Force Awakens didn't have the kind of crushing responsibility that Marvel had cut out for it with Infinity War. Star Wars simply had to create a sequel trilogy using the backstory of the previous films, using new characters. Infinity War had to unite characters from no less than 18 movies, most of which were relatively unrelated, spanning 10 years, keeping in mind countless little details, continuity flow, and character arcs. On top of that, they had to fulfill the insanely high expectations from their millions of fans, create a cohesive story while juggling the dozens of characters, locations, side stories, and plot points in the film, create an incredibly scary, intimidating villain, and have it all wrapped up with a satisfying conclusion. That's a lot to think about. But I could say that, for the most part, Avengers Infinity War delivers on the hype and begins the groundbreaking wrap-up of one of the greatest cinematic franchises in history. I went into the theater expecting a great movie, and once again, Marvel did not disappoint. Why couldn't Justice League have been this awesome? I mean, Justice League had more famous and arguably better heroes than the Avengers. Oh well, enough about that mess. The storyline is fairly straightforward, and you probably have seen enough trailers and teasers and Lord knows how many they made to know what the story is basically about. Though there are plenty of twists and turns throughout the movie. In the plot, the Mad Titan Thanos is finally getting around to collecting all 6 Infinity Stones, and he's not playing fair. This causes the Avengers and pretty much every other hero in the MCU, most notably Black Panther and the Guardians of the Galaxy, to unite and stop Thanos from wiping out half of all life in the universe. The movie contains roughly 4 subplots. With so many characters, the directors were forced to split them into teams. Thor rides with Rocket Raccoon and Groot, the Guardians of the Galaxy team up with Doctor Strange, Spider-Man, and Iron Man, Captain America, Black Widow, and the Winter Soldier team up with Black Panther and Wakanda, and Thanos searches for each Infinity Stone. There is a lot of people to pay attention to in this movie, though I gotta hand it to Marvel. Even though some characters fall by the wayside, namely the Black Order, and Thanos' backstory isn't delved into quite as much as I'd hoped, no character in the film feels like a waste, and they made each character's presence felt the best way they humanly could. Even so, it was just so amazing seeing all of these characters finally converge into the same movie. Ever wondered what Spider-Man would say to Peter Quill, or what would happen if Iron Man took on Thanos hand-to-hand? Here you go. However, there are a few gripes people seem to have, and that's what I'll be talking about next. So far, I've seen a lot of hate going around with the unable to be pleased critics saying that this movie was too overwhelming or too overstuffed, and to a degree that's kind of true. However, how I think of it is that this movie functions as sort of the climax of the MCU, or at least Phase 3. Everything that's happened over the past 10 years and 18 movies have led up to Infinity War. The time for character development, dialogue, and setup is over. Now it's time for an epic smackdown, which Infinity War totally delivers on. What I would say to the critics is that I would rather have the movie be an assault on my senses than an average superhero flick that's more underwhelming than not. Justice League. That being said, with so much happening in the film, if you aren't a fan of the MCU and you haven't watched the greater part of the collection, you're going to be pretty confused. Let it be known, this is a movie that will be best enjoyed by fans. But I still feel like you could know fairly little about the MCU and still have a decent idea what's going on, maybe. I'm a big fan, so I can't really say that 100%. Infinity War, as I said, is the beginning of the end for the MCU as we know it. It's a climax, the last battle. To make it seem like the truly epic conclusion it needs to be, Marvel needed absurdly high stakes and an absurdly terrifying villain. Thanos delivers. Marvel is infamous for having great heroes, but very mediocre villains, their only exceptions being Loki from Thor and the Avengers, and Killmonger from Black Panther, and maybe Ultron. I happen to like Ultron, some people don't. However, Thanos ranks aside their best villains handily. Thanos looks the part. Though his purple skin color causes some to laugh, they won't laugh when they see him on screen. In the first scene in Infinity War, we meet Thanos on the wreck of Thor's ship. Thanos is introduced in shadow, and you don't get a good look at his face until a few lines later, which helps set up his menace and mysteriousness. Then when you finally do see him, in a single scene, he not only kills Loki, rest in peace, buddy, what you say? But he also beats the Incredible Hulk into a bloody pulp. The Incredible Hulk. If that doesn't make you fear Thanos right from the start, nothing will. But throughout the movie, we see more and more of his motives, which, though twisted and truly horrifying, are actually somewhat relatable. His home planet of Titan was laid bare by overpopulation when the planet's resources simply ran out. He then vowed to destroy half the universe to bring balance to it. In a particularly chilling scene, Thanos is shown in a flashback saving Gamora from the Holocaust he was wreaking on her home planet. He takes her aside and gives her a jewel-encrusted balanced knife, averting her eyes as he kills off half the planet's people. Later, he proclaims how the planet had been suffering and hungry before he'd arrived, but after he had performed his purge, the planet had sprung back and people were contented again. It's ruthless, it's awful, and it's something no sane human would ever do, but it kinda makes sense. He wants to help people in his own twisted way, and when he makes legitimate sacrifices to achieve his goals, we feel his pain. The best kinds of villains are the ones we can empathize with, and Thanos is among those villains. Thanos was played by Josh Brolin, who voices the villain perfectly. It evokes power and might and an underlying maniacal evil. Plus, the CGI work on his face was completely convincing. He never looked fake or like he'd been pulled out of a video game. Steppenwolf. Infinity War was a movie about Thanos, and the movie spends quite a lot of its runtime devoted to him. He's the star of the show, and an awesome one at that. What makes him an even better villain is the fact that he's truly powerful. Even with the combined forces of all the Avengers, nobody is safe. Thanos feels more powerful than all of them. Sure, the Infinity Stones allow him to perform truly terrifying feats. I mean, he threw a freaking moon at Iron Man for crying out loud. But even before he acquired all the Infinity Stones, he still felt awe-inspiring and extremely powerful. I was always on edge when a hero was near Thanos. The action sequences in this movie were all incredible. From the fight with Thanos on Titan, a highlight of the movie, to the climactic battle on Wakanda, it felt like watching the Battle of Pelennor Fields in Return of the King, a truly awesome cinematic battle, even if they were fighting four-armed lizard men instead of orcs. They're all fast-paced, but never too chaotic. You'll never be bored watching the fight scenes, especially since the stakes were so high. Who might get hurt next? Who might die next? Will Thanos get the Infinity Stone? Of course, most of the movie is made up of action scenes. This can get tiring in movies where there's a ton of bad CGI, but in Infinity War, the CGI is near perfect. I'm sure there's a few of you that will complain about the CGI, but I didn't really see any problems at all. Of course, the signature Marvel humor is back. This film is being called The Empire Strikes Back of the MCU for its darkness, and it's true. This is definitely the darkest, most sinister Marvel movie I've ever seen, but there's still plenty of levity and jokes to go around. Drax has a fair share of straight-up hilarious moments.
How's this dude still alive? He is not a dude. You're a dude. This is a man.
Sometimes the humor and jokes are a bit out of place though. Some moments that are supposed to be either sad or tender can be undermined emotionally by an out-of-place joke, but this fact doesn't really detract from the main storyline. Now for the ending. Oh my gosh, the ending. No movie since Empire Strikes Back has had such a radical, gut-punching ending as Infinity War. If you look up cliffhanger in the dictionary, you'd see a picture of the Infinity War logo. Throughout the movie, with disturbing regularity, Thanos keeps collecting Infinity Stones. One by one, he either steals them or beats them out of people. I kept wondering, okay, well, he won't get the next one, then he gets it. By the time Thanos gets the fifth stone, people were starting to panic. One more left. Then Vision died. Thanos put the final stone in the gauntlet. Thor comes riding in and he plants his axe into Thanos' chest. I thought he died. Then it happened. Thanos snapped his fingers. There was total silence in the theater, and I mean total silence. You could have heard a pin drop. One by one, heroes started to die, crumbling in ash. Black Panther, Falcon, Doctor Strange, Groot, Spider-Man, Peter Quill, and several others. Just like that. Thanos survives and looks out into the sunset, and then it's over. All I could do was shake my head as the end credits came on. It was a stunning twist. I put all my money on Iron Man dying, but he survived. In fact, all the heroes for the original Avengers survived, and the others didn't. Kind of fitting, but I was still shocked. Most of the theater was too. As soon as the credits came on, the overwhelming silence exploded into shocked exclamations, excited conversations, or both. After waiting an ungodly amount of time for the end credits scene, I discovered Captain Marvel will be featured in Infinity War Part 2. I already knew that, but hey, cool to see it. That's what made the movie different than every Marvel film before it. The heroes lost, the villain won. Sure, it's only Part 1 of Infinity War, but superheroes are usually designed to win and villains are designed to lose. But in the film, the dynamic was turned on its head. But while fans are all tore up about the ending, it's pretty safe to say that they aren't dead. I mean, Spider-Man died in Infinity War, but Tom Holland himself said the work has begun for a Spider-Man Homecoming sequel. The entire Guardians of the Galaxy turned to ash except for Rocket, but a threequel has already been confirmed for them. Doctor Strange also vanished, but a sequel for him has been hinted at and will most certainly happen. It's still a shocking end, but the heroes aren't gone. It was Doctor Strange that had the plan. During the movie, he uses the Time Stone to examine all possible outcomes and features of the battle with Thanos. He says that out of over 14 million possibilities, the Avengers only win in one timeline. Beforehand, he had made it very clear that he would guard the Time Stone with his life, and that if it came down to either saving Tony or the Time Stone, Strange would let Tony die. His protection of the Time Stone is made crystal clear. Then Thanos almost kills Tony. Before he can, though, Strange suddenly exchanges the Time Stone for Tony's life. I was confused. Strange had made it very obvious he would choose the Time Stone over Tony, yet he practically hands the stone over to Thanos. It would have been a stupid move, and something very out of character for Doctor Strange. However, an important distinction to be made is that he gave Thanos the stone after he had examined all the alternate possible timelines. Right before Strange crumbles to ash, he tells Tony that there was no other way. At first, I thought he meant there was no other way but to lose to Thanos, but then I realized he meant there was no other way to win against Thanos except by giving him the Time Stone. So, unfortunately, the Avengers had to sacrifice lives in order to win. We'll have to wait until Avengers 4 to confirm, but it's the only theory that makes any sense. Phew, that was a lot to cover. Hope you guys enjoyed my review video on Avengers Infinity War. I also hope that you've already seen Avengers Infinity War, but you can't say you weren't warned. I made it very clear there'd be spoilers. I just wanted to give you guys a quick free review for the film. Thanks for watching. Hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, then leave a like, and until next time, I'll see you guys later.